Today we're going to talk about autonomy and why autonomy matters and give you guys a general outline to follow in order to pursue autonomy.
The Hershkovitz Bros back in action. These are a little full this time, so try not to spill.
That's what I like to hear. Just coffee time, just two bros chatting it up.
Yep, like every day.
So this video is kind of marks the beginning of our autonomy series, and we really just want to give a high-level recap. So this video is it's not meant for any particular audience. It's really meant for anyone that wants to increase autonomy in their life. So we're not going to try to sit here and say, okay, if you're past high school and you don't have this plan set up, it's too late for you, because that's not really true. I think you could sort of start and make this autonomy path a realistic goal no matter what your age is. But we do want to start and say it is best to begin thinking about these things the earlier the better. So if you're in high school and you don't really have a significant plan for your future, that's fine. I mean, that's totally normal. That's the way we were. But it's good to start thinking about what North Star you want to head towards, in terms of both a hard skill, which is a must, and in terms of what you actually want to do. Because those two things, you just need them both in today's day and age. So
yeah, and the main goal here is to set up some kind of revenue generating kind of mechanism in order to get money, and this money is we're calling it play money. And this play money, we define it as money that you have aside or extra that's not counted towards going to the bills, and it's not counted towards going towards your emergency fund nor your retirement savings. So any kind of extra money you have here is what we coin play money. And this play money is your golden ticket to gain more autonomy, because this is what you're going to be using to take some risks with. But these are going to be calculated risks, and these are going to be risks that don't affect your living situation at all. And this play money is for primarily business development or investing.
So let's just take a moment to step back and think about, me and Nick's hard skill sort of stories. So, first I could share mine. Went to college, was undeclared for the first couple years, first 2 years. After that, I decided to study accounting. Just sort of picked it. It seemed to me at the time like it was the most amount of money for the least amount of effort. And I still think that's pretty accurate for accounting. You don't really have to, the classes are kind of challenging, but it's not, like quantum mechanics or anything like that. You learn some basic rules about taxes and auditing, and then you get a job right out of school for probably $50K, at least. And that was when I graduated a couple years ago. It's probably 55 now, or it really depends on where you live and what firm you work at. But so that's what I did. Studied accounting, got a job right out of school, and I got a paycheck. Didn't fill my heart with joy every day. It wasn't my end-all be-all place that I wanted to be at, but it was something that I did in order to, like Nick said, get that sort of golden ticket to get started in what it is I actually wanted to do. So from there, I started, or me and Nick started doing cooperative schemes. I did my own sort of couple schemes here. We worked together on some. We're going to share a lot of that in future videos, but that's sort of my hard skill story.
Yeah, and the way we see it is when you graduate college, get that job, and start earning that income, that's not the end, that's just the beginning, because that's when you finally have the time and the money to actually start gaining your autonomy. So most people think that's the end, but the Hershkovitz Bros think that's where you're just starting. So my personal story, I was given the advice to follow your passion. At the time, and still to this day, I've always loved languages. So I started studying Spanish in school, and I got my bachelor's degree in Spanish. I could not find a job with it. I applied to dozens of different places, translation firms, interpreting places, social work, anything I can try to get my hands on. No one would hire me because it just wasn't a very good hard skill, and anyone who was just a native speaker in it outpowered me, even though I had the degree. And I have plenty of friends who majored in liberal arts things, that may be psychology or English or philosophy or whatever it may be, and all of them could not find jobs, and they all had to go back to get their second bachelor's degree in something like computer science or engineering or anything that we call a hard skill. And it doesn't have to be quite in the STEM field, but we advocate for something that, real estate agent would be a hard skill, a lawyer would be a hard skill, mechanic would be a hard skill. Pretty much non-liberal arts fields is what we would advocate for to start getting that assured job and that income coming in. After I couldn't find a job with my Spanish degree, I ended up going back for a computer science degree, and that has been the best thing that I did in the last 8 years of my life, really. Because as soon as I got that degree, I went the cheaper route. I went to schools that were respectable, but not like the top of the top, so I can save on money. Instantly got a job. Always having recruiters reach out to me. I'm not even a senior level engineer or anything like that. Just I'm a .NET web developer. So that is definitely the most kind of assured path that I found out in my life.
And even sort of like a technical college sort of degree, like welding or something of that nature is, I would also consider that a hard skill, because you could really only train for a couple of years and come out making decent money.
Mm-hmm. You don't quite have to go to college for these skills either, but it would be riskier not to go to college. Yes, you could live with your parents right after high school and just learn how to code on the side, and that's fine. But you may not be taken seriously unless you had an amazing sort of portfolio to present to a future employer. But the kind of more sure path is we would advocate for go to school, you get your degree in probably a STEM field, but once we said hard skill, you probably start out in a community college so you don't rack up lots of student debts. And you could do 2 years there, and then you can go your second 2 years at just a cheaper university, because our experience shows us that no one really cares about your GPA as long as you have above maybe a 2.5, 3.0. No one really cares about what school you went to as long as you just have that piece of paper. We've had countless employers. I've had one of my employers out of about 5 even ask for GPA, and even they're sort of not the norm based on my and my friends' experiences.
And I do a quick stipulation here. On the highest echelon sort of firms, and I guess particularly more in non-STEM fields, but I think this is also relevant in STEM fields too, they do look at GPA. So for example, in accounting, everyone always talks about the big four. PwC, EY, Deloitte, KPMG. For these companies, you do need to sort of be on that upper echelon in terms of GPA. And I worked at PwC for 2 years, and I would advocate that really it's not even really worth it. I mean, you get in, you just work your ass off, sort of just grind yourself, lose all your energy. You have to deprioritize all the other things in your life. You don't even have time to work on these sorts of golden ticket sort of other opportunities that really matter, in my opinion. So I mean, if that's sort of your goal, I mean, you can do that. You could strive for that upper echelon sort of job, and that maybe requires like the fancy degree from Yale or something like that. And I know a lot of kids or a lot of people shoot for that. But in terms of just having a truly autonomous life, I would argue against that. And another point I think that's worth discussing is whatever hard skill it is you choose, going into college or even a couple years after college, this is a very flexible thing. I mean, a lot of times it's easy to think, oh, I'm going to pick accounting, that means I need to do that for 40 years. But realistically, that's not true. So for my case, I studied accounting, got this fancy job, in 2 years worked at PwC, had another accounting internship before that doing income taxes. And I realized, accounting's not really for me. It's not something that I'm really passionate for. And even though I was working on these other sort of side projects outside of work, I still wasn't really fulfilled. I mean, just devoting that much time to something that I didn't have any passion for whatsoever, it was sort of draining me. So the last couple years, have pivoted my career in a way towards something a little bit more technical, sort of that more data science domain. So I started a data science blog, which I'll make a video about probably in the next couple months, digging deep into how I made that pivot. But it's good to not put that much pressure on yourself as to what you choose, as long as you choose something that is reliable and has a consistent sort of reputation for earning decent money.
Yeah, it's not for life, and it's important to be long-term oriented. People say time speeds up as you get older, so use that to your advantage. Just 2 years is really nothing in the bigger view of things. So you can do 2 years, you can get some kind of skill. If you don't like it, you can go back to 2 more years. It's not the end of the world. It's actually pretty reasonable to pivot many times.
And for those of you that are watching that are maybe later in your career and you feel maybe stuck in your 9-to-5 job and you don't feel autonomous and you just sort of feel like every day is on repeat and you're not making much progress, there is hope for you. Maybe your side project could be, instead of building a business, you could just build up a skill on the side to eventually pivot to a new career that might bring you some more satisfaction. So there's a lot of flexibility in all these different variables, and you could tweak them depending on whatever it is, your vision that you want to pursue. And that vision goes back to our other part of this channel that we're going to talk more about later as well.
So kind of in summary, what are we advocating here? We're talking about getting a vision to plan out what kind of hard skill you want and what sort of industry you want. This hard skill leads to a stable job with a good income. This income leads to having a portion of your income going towards play money that you can risk to invest, whether that be in yourself, in more skills, in business development, or in investing. And this risking this money to invest is what leads to your future autonomy.
Exactly. I love this guy.
We are the Hershkovitz Bros.
Amen. And really, it all boils down to a value. Do you value making your own decisions? Do you value waking up every day and sort of deciding what it is you want to do with your life, and not sort of being controlled like you've been all throughout school and all throughout your childhood? This is your chance. This is what you need to sort of strive for in order to make that happen. To feel like you're living every day for the better or for the worse. Even if it takes more work to get there, Hershkovitz Bros feel like it's worth it.
Autonomy is based on the premise that the more that you direct your own life, the more alive you feel.
Hey, donate to our Patreon if you have.
And my Bitcoin address.
Click the link below.
Hire me too.
We got our PayPal below.
Yeah.
Spread it all your friends. Subscribe. Subscribe. We got to throw that in there.
The Hershkovitz Bro cryptocurrency is now out, so make sure to invest in that.
This is all a ploy to take your money. We don't want to help you. Woo!
That's right. That's right. It's all a pyramid scheme, and we're just making our masterclass to sell you guys the masterclass. And in the masterclass, we show you how to make a masterclass.
And then you show them how to make masterclasses. We get a cut from all of it. Woo! Woo! Hey,
suck it.
This one weird trick. Make $1 trillion in 3 seconds.